Flying at 30,000 feet from the US to Malaysia, I had a lot of time to think about how much economy class was killing my knees. See, I'm 6'6" tall and unfortunately, mostly legs. Business class seating for executives had just been canceled by our new CEO. He wasn't making any exceptions for his taller staff. I'm sure that he's one of those parents who thought that character was built through adversity. So my compact circumstances didn't give me an opportunity to rest, but it did give me plenty of time to think about the $9 million account that was under attack. See, we were selling a lithium-ion battery assembly into a storage device that had been in production for a number of years, and we were sole sourced on the account. And we were the sole source because it was really difficult to meet the application's technical requirements. The engineering team at our customers simply didn't have the bandwidth or the budget to design another supplier. So as long as we continued to pass along year-over-year cost reduction, they pretty much left us alone. This all started to change after our customer had been swallowed up by a much larger tech company. In the press release, the acquiring company announced that they expected to find over $200 million in cost savings as a result of the acquisition. No doubt that our $9 million in business was somehow baked into this equation. After all, once you eliminate redundant resources, the next synergistic step in an acquisition is to beat up your supply base. I'm sure a lot of you have been in this situation. So there was a target on our back, and they were coming after us. And this is exactly why I was on the plane to Malaysia. See, our sales manager in Singapore had been summoned to Penang to discuss pricing, and I didn't want him to go in alone. Earlier in my career, I learned the perils of going into a negotiation alone. Being outnumbered in a negotiation is not only dangerous, it's absolutely no fun. So before the meeting, our host let it be known that they were expecting significant cost reductions out of us. I've seen this before. I knew this was going to be it wasn't going to be one of those win-win negotiations where both sides come out happy. They were out for blood. Let me give you a little bit of background before we get deeper into the story. So, my team took account management very seriously, and we had our relationships dialed in both in the procurement and the engineering side of our customer's organization. We were single sourced on an application, as I mentioned before, because of the difficulty that the engineering team faced in designing a battery into their storage device. And they really had no desire to go through another 18-month process to bring in another source. So, unfortunately, this also meant that they didn't have the bandwidth or the desire to design this into another product that was sole sourced to one of our competitors. So we were relegated to one application and our competitors were sole sourced in another application. And the other thing we knew is their engineering team was busy designing the next generation of products. So in short, they were totally out of bandwidth. So over the years, we had passed along cost savings to our client as we became more efficient in our manufacturing and in our material purchases. But this was all predicated upon volume increasing. And now that appeared to be over. So upon arriving at the client's facility in Penang, we were given just the appropriate amount of time to marinate in the lobby. And if you've ever waited for your customer to come out and get you, you know what I mean. It's just enough time to let you know that they were in charge. So, like most meetings, when someone wants something from you, they started off really pleasant. We received a small tour of the facility. We went and met a few of the buyers who were placing orders with us, people we had met over email or maybe over the phone, but had never put a face with a name. So that was nice. Our tour terminated in the corner conference room with a large table that had 4 or 5 members of their procurement team waiting for us. And once we sat down, they quickly got to work by focusing the discussion on how much cost reduction we were prepared to give them. So there was a problem. Volumes had been going down over the past few months, and we were losing efficiency in manufacturing and some of those unique subcomponents that we bought. The prices were going up because we weren't purchasing the same volume. And Unfortunately, that was causing our costs to go up. So not only were we there not to give them price reduction, but we were actually there to give them an increase. So we were anchoring our negotiation with an increase, not a decrease. This didn't go over well, and the situation escalated quickly. The junior members of the procurement team moved to the side, and their boss came in to straighten us out. She let us know that an increase was completely out of the question, and if we continued this course of action, we would be on our way out as a supplier. So apparently, word got around the building that there was a supplier who was looking to raise prices. This was an absolute no-no in this organization. So the VP of procurement quickly came in to save the day and play the good cop with us. So, after short-circuiting the tension in the room with pleasantries, he explained that he would give us favorable consideration for an award of new business if we cooperated with price reduction right then and there. Great. This is what we wanted. For years, we had been asking engineering and procurement in the United States to design us into that other single source application that we didn't have any content in. So we were pretty excited to get that and saw this as a possible opportunity. So we wanted to make a trade. We wanted to come in and give them the price reduction they were looking for if we could pick up some more business. So we offered a modest cost reduction if they would commit to designing us into the application now and give us a defined share of business. We wanted something in writing. I stood up and I wrote it on the board. So we had a dry erase board in there, and I wrote down what the offer was to make sure it was absolutely clear. As soon as I sat down, the room went silent. And the junior members of the procurement team, they started to squirm in their seats. They knew this wasn't going the right way. After about 10 or 20 seconds of silence, the bad cop jumped in. She wasn't having any of this, and she told us that our offer was completely unacceptable, and she wanted cost reduction now. So we refused to negotiate against ourselves and reiterated that our offer was to trade for commitment. This went back and forth across the net for a few volleys until they basically told us to leave the building. They were pretty upset at us. In the taxi heading back to the airport, I reflected on the situation and what we had done well. And I was really proud of this negotiation. And it's not because we got some wonderful deal. It's because we didn't capitulate. We didn't get pushed into the corner, and we didn't make unnecessary concessions. So first, we spent considerable time gathering information in the U.S. before we negotiated. We had developed a relationship. We had zipped this account out. We knew what their options were regarding kicking us out, and we knew their alternatives weren't good, and they had very little room to maneuver. So we didn't have to make unnecessary concessions. Second, we negotiated as a team. It was a long way for me to go for a 2-hour meeting, but it was worth it. The risk of leaving our local salesperson in Singapore in that meeting alone was high, and I didn't want to have him face that on his own. Number 3, in spite of repeated threats to take business away from us, we didn't negotiate against ourselves. We knew what their alternatives were. We knew they were weak. We knew they had little choice. They had to buy from us. So we stuck to our plan, stuck to our trades, and stayed focused on what we wanted to trade and get in return. And we didn't cave when they put the pressure on. Fourth, we didn't fall victim to the good cop, bad cop routine. It was so obvious, and we didn't fall for it at all. And the last thing, maybe I'm not proud of this, but just to let you know, I did upgrade myself to business class on that flight back because it was pretty brutal to sit in that chair for 12 hours back to the West Coast. So I hope you found that negotiation story helpful. I know a lot of you are going to find yourselves, if you haven't already, you're going to find yourselves in situations like this when you're dealing with a counterparty that's much bigger than you, has a much more leverage, much more power. Remember, the cost savings they were looking for, the synergies from their acquisition was $200 million. That was as big as our company was at the time. So don't let that take you off your plan. Make sure you understand what their alternatives are. Don't negotiate against yourself. Negotiate as a team, and don't fall victim to manipulative tactics. I hope this helps you. Don't practice on game day.